Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here, Smart Business Moves. It's Wednesday, hump day. We're getting there. Got Liz. Hey, Liz.
Hey, y'all.
Ken Carfagno is back again because we were talking about solo cleaning last week, and we hit like the 55-minute mark and said, gee, we're not even halfway done with this discussion. Ken, please come back and help us.
Thank you.
He so kindly carved out another hour out of his busy day, and we're going to do solos part 2. And we're chatting about a couple other directions we might go. I don't know where we're going to wind up today, but we'll start with solos and see where it goes.
We should actually start, Tom, with the podcast thing. You know, because that was actually a really good question. And then,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll ask that question right out of the chute. But if I don't do what I'm supposed to do before I start, I'll forget. And
yes, I apologize.
And during these unprecedented times, it's important to make sure that we remember to do all the things that we're supposed to do.
All right, good job, Tom. I give it high five. High five.
So to close the week out, we've got Smart Business Moves on the spot tomorrow, which is our rapid fire Q&A session where Liz, myself, and our secret guests all get 1 minute to answer your most pressing and important questions. And Liz has a hint for us as to who our secret guest is tomorrow.
I do, but I was waiting for you to put up the schedule like you normally do.
Oh, I mean, okay, I could. I probably should.
I'll do that. Awesome. All right. So this hint is to make it very easy for you guys to know exactly who we're talking about so that you can come tomorrow with questions that are very specific and that would be helpful to you. All right. So tomorrow's guest, I already told you that she runs a family-owned, not family-owned, she has a family-run business, multiple generations. And did I say what state, or did I just say it was hot?
You said it was hot.
Hot. All right. So my clue today is that they also have a pest eliminating company in Texas.
That's it. Nothing more. You're not going to give us initials.
Are pests people we don't like?
Say it again, Ken.
Are the pests just people we don't like?
No, they actually have a pest.
Because that's a hitman company.
Yeah, that's not good. We don't talk about that on Facebook Lives, Ken. We just don't go there.
Pest control, I think, is maybe the.
Hey guys, hey Leslie, hey Marlo. Yeah, pest control. Thanks, Tom. That's what I was looking for. Not pest elimination. Pest control, and it's actually natural. But I'm not getting any more hints.
Why don't you just tell us who it is?
No, you have to guess, Tom. Yeah, Marlo, you figured it out.
I'm waiting for guests. Oh, wait a minute. Marlo says it's too easy. Marlo says it's so easy. She's not even going to bother.
Not even going to guess. She already knows who it is.
It's a trivia.
Yes. C and D H. You're right. CH and DH. Yeah. And it could be two CHs. CH, DH, and CH. Make it even. Oh no, it's not CH. Used to be CH. Now it's CR. That's an even better clue. In case you couldn't figure it out before. Now you know.
DCH.
D and CH.
Yeah. Anyway, I think the cat's
you're right. You are very right, Sarah.
The cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
So we were chatting a bit before we went live. Ken's got a podcast that he's been rocking. How long have you been doing that?
Since last October.
Oh, a good chunk then, like almost a year.
Yep, almost a year. And 90 episodes in.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot.
That is. That's bringing it. Just curious what the thinking was in terms of podcasts in lieu of doing these live streams that we've been doing in Facebook and YouTube, if one's more useful than the other, or maybe a mix of the two. The three of us we're talking the pros and cons, and just wondering if any of our guests have any opinions or one way or the other that could be useful to us.
Well, what do you think, Ken?
Yeah, I can't speak to which is better. But I've been attending podcast conferences, and I've been wanting to do one for a couple of years. And I can just share that. Okay, let me give you an example.
Like a conference, yeah. Fill me in on that.
I went to Podcast Movement. There's Podfest in Florida. There's Podcast Movement, which normally would happen in August, but it's been postponed. Everything's canceled. I would have gone to Dallas this year for that. So I can just share about 3 years ago, I was talking to a former guest of yours, Angela Brown, and we were on a phone call. One of the first times her and I were connecting. And I said to her, and she's super smart. I mean, she's wicked smart. And I said, Angela, so what do you, because I was starting to do some consulting on the side, for my cleaning business, and she was already doing that. I said, Angela, what do you think about doing a podcast? And her comment back to me, kind of private, she says, if you don't have a podcast, you don't have a business. Like, she's just very strong. I'm like, okay. I'm okay. And then
what do you really think, Angela? Come on.
And then she went and started one, and she paired it with a YouTube channel. And as you can see, she's got like almost 100,000 subscribers on her YouTube channel. And then I talked to her like 2 years later. She says, so you didn't do your podcast yet? I'm like, no. I'm just like, when are you starting? I said, yes, Angela, I'm going to start. And it took me a while to figure out what my niche was going to be, like solo cleaning. But I'd gone to the conferences. I'd talked to people running very successful podcasts, and the content, the medium, it's such an untapped. Like, YouTube's been around for a while. Podcast is still new. There's only 1 million podcasts, and that sounds like a ton, but that's really not that many. And the average podcast listener, which they find your show all over the place. Like, it's amazing. Just my little niche cleaning show. It's been 6 out of 7 continents. They don't track Antarctica, and I'm in all 50 states. And I don't have numbers like Angela, but for a solo cleaning podcast,
and only 10 months.
In 10 months, we're over 10,000 downloads. I'm like, wow, how's that? Like, how do people find it? Well, it goes out in all these channels. You sign up with a host, and that host sends out your RSS feed to Google, to iTunes, to Stitcher, to all these different, and these new podcast players keep popping up, and then they take on your show, and it just grows like crazy. People the podcast is such a successful medium. And then what I learned at a conference is that the average podcast listener has 7 shows on their dial. Like on a radio, you have 6 presets.
Yeah.
There's 7 shows is what they listen to. So if you have a podcast and you can get on as many people's kind of frequently listen to shows, they just keep listening and listening. But I think it's important to have, as many channels available as possible. So like what you're doing here, you could take all of these and just pull the audio and make a podcast, and it won't take you any more time. Just take the audio, boom, post it on the host and throw it out to all these podcast channels, and you'll have the same stuff. You can edit it differently. So Tom, I don't know which one's better for your audience. You'd have to probably poll people, but you will absolutely reach so many more people if you add. Like, I just started a YouTube channel. Like, I'll do a YouTube channel for my podcast, and I'll do both. So I think it's great to have all of the above.
So would you be recording your YouTube as a separate feed, or would you just strip the audio out of your YouTube and that becomes? You can
do this multiple ways. Like, so Angela does hers as a video, and she strips she takes the audio file, has her team edit it, and she takes the video. She has it all compact, and she get an amazing system. When I've been at conferences, there's people that literally just do their podcast right through Facebook Live, and they can strip the audio, they download it, and they can strip it. There's tools you can pull the audio, you can load the video to YouTube, you could load the audio to the podcast. There's other people, like for me personally, I'm doing the podcast completely isolated as an audio file through Audacity, and once it's edited, it goes up and goes live. But then what I'm doing is I'm starting a YouTube channel, which I'm essentially going to do like highlights, like maybe once a week. Like, hey, I'm going to do a new video. Hey, here's the podcast I recorded this week, and just go through some highlights
of all of them.
I'm trying to come up with a way to draw, because you have to know the format of your listener. So that's the conference is useful to learn, and there's tons of resources out there. You can listen to podcasts on how to do a podcast.
Hey, Debbie, I'm thinking hire a VA that knows about podcasts and let them do it. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I mean, if you want this, like Tom and Liz, the simplest thing you could do right now, you already have these recorded every single day. You could hire someone like a VA, and they could just get the tools in place. They can do a few things. They could pull the audio from each of these and load them into a podcast host. Like I use Buzzsprout. And then you can use a transcription service and just transcribe the audio, and that's your show notes, and just have your VA pull, links. Like, hey, if for today's, you mentioned Solo Cleaning School podcast, you'd have him search my link. You'd link that on your show notes, and then boom, you've got an audio feed, and you could maybe edit out the ums and the ands or whatever you want to edit out. If you want to shrink it down to
really short after that, Ken.
Yeah. Oh, well, you could shrink it down to 15, 20 minutes as well if you want to make it compact. So yeah, just some ideas. I mean, it would definitely give you so much more range and visibility, and people will find you better, and they'll find the podcast, come to this, people on this will find the podcast, and just giving people multiple choice.
Yeah, I think that's a great little thing that we never really even thought about, Ken. So that's awesome. I guess that's kind of how your brain works, which is why
you're here.
Yeah, the whole solo cleaning is the same thing, right?
I do have one. Yeah, can I just one more little thing on the podcast?
Absolutely,
little plug in there.
Yeah.
So one thing I did not expect, I did the podcast to really spread awareness on solo cleaning and the solo cleaning school that I'm helping. So I'm more of the consulting, helping cleaning side, right? Yeah. But in my personal solo cleaning business, I didn't realize that my podcast for this was going to help me grow my regular cleaning business. It's quite amazing. Like when I tell people that, like we talked about like the level 1, 2, and 3 cleaners last time, being someone that is running a podcast, and I say, and I also, help and consult other cleaning companies. And I have a podcast, and they're like they're just like, who are you? You're a space, like you're an alien. But it raises the credibility of me even more.
Absolutely.
And they're just like, wow. And I mention people, like I can say, hey, I met this person here locally, and I give that person a shout out. And then I tell him that I mentioned him. And then he goes and shares that podcast episode locally. And then I get them and they hire me as a cleaner a month later. Like stuff like that happens.
I totally see that happening. Yeah, I can absolutely see how you build credibility in a really quick way too, without really having to do anything different than you're already doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's podcast.
Right. Sweet.
Why you got to give us more stuff to do?
Yeah. Okay.
We're busy.
Everyone, this is officially the last time I'm on here.
It sounds like it's something that you can kind of multitask. I mean, we're already doing it. It's just put it in another medium.
I feel like this is like this idea is one of those smart business moves where you take what you already have and repurpose it. And repurpose it in as many ways as you can without creating new content all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you can just have a local show, just something local in your area. There's so many things you could do. If you're into gardening, you have a cleaning business, you're into gardening, do a local show. Let's say you're in Seattle or Olympia. You're in some small town, Olympia, Washington, just an example, or Greenville, South Carolina, or Charleston, South Carolina. You're into gardening, right? And you just do a show on gardening, and you
could do fishing. He loves
fishing. You're bringing people together talking about fishing. This podcast is sponsored by Castle Keepers, and you're just giving you're the advertiser for your own podcast about gardening. You're bringing people in, and the people that like gardening, they also may need cleaners, and so essentially, it's just another way to do it. And so there's
like
so many things.
Job, Ken. It's like
it is. It is exciting, but it took me 9 months to get my system down. So I wouldn't say go start 3 things at once. Like just do this piece at a time. But it's a commitment for sure. But if you have a good team around you, then it can be faster.
But if you can hire a VA to do like 95% of it, that sounds good to me. I like that part. All right. Well, we have a bunch of people on here. I know everybody's waiting to hear about solos. So you guys pop in the comments if you have any specific questions that you want to know from Ken. But I know, Ken, you have a couple of stories that you plan on sharing today to help people understand like the value of solo cleaning and how it can scale. Because a lot of times, one of the main things that people don't like about solo cleaning is they think you can never scale solo cleaning. You're just never going to be able to have a big company unless you have independent contractors. There's just no way around it. You can't make money, right? Mm-hmm. And you just can't make any decent money. But you have some ideas about how you can make some pretty good cash, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I mean, it depends where you start out. So there's some people that were on this call last time. They were active solo owners. So let's make the distinction: solo owner, solo cleaner.
Okay.
Right. So solo owner is a solo cleaner that also owns the business.
Okay.
That's what I am. That's what I've been. That's what I teach. But there's a solo cleaner.
You've got a complete lexicon that is foreign to most of us, which is, I mean, but it's important because these are elements that matter. This is awesome. I'm sorry.
And the thing I really like about this, Ken, is we all should have this lexicon. So you see I have my pencil. So you are creating the lexicon for our industry around this. So I'm writing down what you're saying. So
okay.
Solo cleaner is different than solo owner.
Yeah, I mean, I am a solo cleaner and a solo owner.
Got it.
So my podcast is Solo Cleaning School. Just solo owning school sounded weird.
Okay, yeah.
But a solo owner is, and I can't take full credit for this. I mean, I remember talking to Debbie Sardone about this a couple of years ago, and she helped me coin some of these terms. I'm not going to take credit for it, but I think this is what it is. The distinction: solo cleaner is what I am, but I'm also a solo owner, and there are some of those on this call. And the courses and the things I've developed is specifically for that, the solo cleaner, that's also the owner. Yeah.
So what if I own a company that employs solo cleaners, but I don't clean?
So the people that clean, they're solo cleaners in a company.
But what am I? If I'm
you're the owner. You're a cleaning business owner that has solo cleaners in it.
Okay. I gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it gets confusing.
So just a CBO, regular. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I got you.
If you want to ask the question, for the solo cleaning owner, how do you scale? And that's a difficult thing because there's only so many clients a solo owner can take on. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've done. And so in my world, and I shared this last time, I got to a point in my first business that I made a decision. I don't want to scale with employees.
Right.
And that's okay. There's so many people that don't. Yeah. And I figured out how I could engineer and optimize and manipulate. And I have some stories around kind of some of the mindset with how did I get so much faster? Last time I was on this call, I shared with you just kind of conceptually how you could become a specialist. And if you can position yourself, we talked about level 1, level 2. If you can position yourself at level 3, then you're going to start gaining clients at a much higher rate. And you add to that, and this goes for both the solo owner or the solo cleaner in the business, but you add to that the like a different way of drawing clients in. Like it's called you probably familiar with like a pool marketing system where you're building so much trust throughout the entire process. People are begging for you to clean for them. And then you throw a waiting list on the back of that. And then you can create so much scarcity and so much demand around what you supply and demand. You can create so much demand around them wanting me, and you can not have this because as a solo owner, I don't have a ton of supply, so I can easily hold back my supply. Therefore, my prices go up. And so if I can charge $80, $100 an hour, people will pay it because of how I've positioned myself. And so that's part of the equation. Let's get, how can you get solo cleaners either in a large business, like you say, or solo owner? How can you get them super, super ultra efficient? And it's you've got to make more per client and you've got to be faster at every client, and you've got to cut anything that's waste. You know, and we talked about last time, like the quote that I told you from Alonzo Adams is we've had this mindset of let's always make our business bigger and bigger and bigger. We'll outgrow the problem. We'll outgrow and who's tracking their metrics? Who's tracking their numbers where they know their profits? And we got to that at the end of the last call. And if we get to that point where we really know our profits and we can maximize our profits with our current business, and then you can implement and inject some different mindset for efficiency and optimizing, then you and getting faster, all that kind of stuff, you can now start to take an existing business that was teams of 2, or now it's teams of 1, and you're going to get some immediate efficiency gains from going to 1. I've shared case studies. Yeah. And then once you have those teams of 1 in place, now there's all this, you have to figure all this stuff out, like, because it's new, it's a new business. It's going to take a different type of person in many cases, like our friend Chris Willett has suggested. Yeah. And once you have those people in place, now you get that, now you start training that person with the mindset of the efficiency. And then they start getting faster because they're motivated, probably from that book you mentioned when we talked before, Drive, right? You get them motivated and they work faster and they see the potential. Well, what if I could do, like I'm a solo cleaner in Liz's business and I'm doing, 10 houses a week, and this is how much money I make. Well, gosh, what if I could do 15 houses in the same week? Or what if I could do 10 houses in 3 days?
Yeah.
I mean, would they be happy making the same money and having more time, or making, an extra 50%? That's 50% more if they could do 5 more houses. Is that?
But it's awesome because it could both. It does both.
Yeah, you could do either end.
More work-life balance, it meets that need.
Yeah.
For the people that want more money, it meets that need.
Right. And I personally chose in my first business to go the route of do less. So I went from 60,000 a year profit with my solo owner. I was as a solo owner.
Yeah.
I had like 20 some clients, not a lot, and like 5-6 days a week, but I was always working, and I had little kids and I wanted to be with my family. And so I shrunk that down. I was working 2 days a week at the end of my process. I was still making the same profit. And so that's what I did. And then I'm in my second business now, and I'm doing it again, but this time I'm changing a little bit. I'm going for more profit. I'm going for double the profit, and I might work 1 additional day, but I'm trying to find a new balance. So in that respect, there's a lot of ways you could go with this. So your initial question is, it's not as easy to directly answer. It depends on where the people are in here. I can answer specific questions. Yeah. But until I see some questions kind of come in, there's a couple of stories I can share, unless you guys want to interject.
No, please.
You mentioned level 1, 2, and 3, and that was really a pretty deep thought last week. And for the people who weren't here last week, it might be useful if you could kind of give us a recap of what those are.
Sure. All right. I added 2 more levels since our last conversation.
What?
Uh-oh.
5 now?
There is 5. I
have paper.
I added level 0.
I'm glad we asked. We would have missed 4 and 5.
This is first time unveiled. It hasn't gone live on my podcast yet.
All right.
Level 0 and a level 4.
All right.
So level 0. All due respect to all of my dear Aunt Sally's out there, but this is what I call them, Aunt Sally cleaners. You're brand new. You love cleaning. I won't call you the derogative name that others do, like they're called trunk slammers, I think, but I call them Aunt Sally's. They're great people. They're your Aunt Sally down the street. They put their tag up in the laundromat. Call Sally. She'll clean for free, right? And they do good work, but they're not insured. They're not a business. They're not legit, and they put you at tremendous liability. That's level 0. They're just cleaning. They know basics. They know the basics, and they're not legit company. Level 1 is you're at least a legit company. Okay. And you've got the basics of cleaning, and you're not putting anyone at risk. You're like, whether you're DBA, an LLC, an S Corp, it doesn't matter. But if you're registered, you're compliant, and you got at least $2 million of your general liability, you're level 1. And that's a real company. So I call level 0 because you're not really like a business.
Yeah, that's why it's 0. That's why you didn't add 2 more levels.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not pushing back on me too much there, right? Like that's 0, 1, 2, you and I had a little slight difference. I'm going to stick with my order. You can change it how you want. My level 2 is, we talked about the specialist last time, and I won't go into detail on this, but hey, a plumber comes into your home. They've been trained. You know, they know their stuff, and you don't want to pay their prices, but you don't have a choice. Like, you're not about to fix your own pipes if you don't know how to. Your air conditioning goes out in Charleston in middle of August, unless you know how to.
Here's my wallet. Take whatever you need.
Yeah. They say it's $1,500. You're like, I don't like you, but I will pay you. Like it's the same thing. How do we? But the cleaner comes over. Yeah, you know, I could clean. It's the 1-2. They treat all of us like we're all level 0s or 1s. So what if we add specialized knowledge on top of that? This is in Napoleon Hill book, Think and Grow Rich, specialized knowledge. And in our industry, I believe specialized knowledge is, especially in these times, it's the science of cleaning and disinfection knowledge. And there's so many courses you can take. I've been teaching on this in my local area. People are crushing it with understanding how to use these guns and if you can position yourself where you are like in your area, you know this stuff, you're the expert there. Wow. I didn't realize, Ken, that I wasn't disinfecting my home properly. I do need you to be more than the basics. I need you to make sure that you're keeping my family safe. So now you're talking level 2, you've raised your value. Level 3, I call it presentation cleaning, or the art of cleaning. And presentation, 15 years I've worked with realtors and stagers. They taught me how the art of selling a home, because someone goes to buy a house, they're emotional and they're looking for certain things, and first impressions make or break the sale. Then you can set up homes or offices you're cleaning, or if you offer window cleaning, you know how to sparkle the right things in the right places to make that mom that's coming home from a long day at work and she sees her house, she sees those vacuum lines perfectly lined up. She sees the chandelier sparkling when she walks in. If they come through the garage, that mudroom looks awesome. The smell they smell. It's just, you know how to set up that house for art. And, you know, I call that level 3. You might say, well, that's 2 and 3 are swap, but that puts a whole nother value on you, because you're now doing things that you become irreplaceable. Like, oh my gosh. And then the level 4, I mean, all through this, the word trust, as you go up the levels and by the way, level 1, I forgot to mention this, the trust is in there too. You've got an incredible amount of trust capital with your client. That also makes you level 1. Like, you have to have that in the foundation. Level 4, I just added this one, and not everyone will fall into this, but if you do start a podcast, or if you do start helping other cleaners locally, or if you're part of network groups and you're like helping other people, and you're the best way that we can learn is actually by teaching it. And you probably experienced is, you can hear it, you can see something, you can do it, but once you start teaching it to someone else, it's like it just embeds in you better. And I believe the level 4 cleaner becomes so much better, because now that if they're teaching other people, they become so much better at what they do. So I believe level 4 is the teacher.
Do you have a graphic? I mean, I see like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where it's, you know, the pyramid.
Yep. I don't have a graphic, but
you need one.
An infographic on this.
Yeah.
Level 0 through 5.
Yeah.
No, 0 through 4.
Well, yeah, 5 levels, 0 through. Yeah, because I lowered them.
I'll keep you straight about your system.
I'm down with 5 levels, 0 through 4. You know, we do our quality scores that way, our scorecards that way. There's 5 options, but we score them 0 through 4, and there's a lot of math involved. We're not going to get into all of that, but
right.
A lot of people argue with me. It's 1 through 5. No, it's not. It's 0 through 4. It's a big difference.
As long as everyone gets the point. You asked me to kind of go through the basics of that, so that was longer than you probably wanted. But those
you need to brand that. You need to create an infographic. You need to have that on your website. I mean, that's
like, I should have already known that. I should have been like, oh, Ken, I totally know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody knows 0 is Aunt Sally. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have Aunt Sally. Well, never mind.
I'm sorry if anyone has an Aunt Sally. I mean, no, I need me.
Yeah, it's not derogatory. It's
exactly.
Oh,
she's awesome.
Yeah, we love her.
We love Aunt Sally.
Yeah, I think I love that more than I can even say. I think it's amazing.
So Yeah, so that's just some of the basics right there of Ken, I don't get it. Like, how can you get so much? Like, if the average house, like we said this last time, the average house is worth $3,500 per year, biweekly house, $3,500, maybe less in some places. And I say, well, that's great, but I don't look at the average house at 3,500. If I'm getting under 4,500, I'm not happy. Like, I want 5,000 per house, average at $200 per visit. That's what I want. So how do I get $200? Is it because I take a 6,000 square foot house? No. I just got another new $200 per visit house, and it's 2,900 square feet, maybe something like that. And I'll be able to optimize it at some point down to about 2.5 hours, which we do the numbers. What's that? Like $75, something like that per hour.
So you say optimize it at some point, Ken. Is it part of your system that it takes a certain amount of time to optimize?
Yeah, let me now dig into this. So we're halfway through the call. I don't make sure I can cover some of this stuff.
Okay.
So I have and this applies to the solo cleaning owner and the solo cleaner in the larger business.
Okay.
You can take your solo cleaners through a process, and the model that I have developed, it's called the ISO model. And it stands for Initialize, Stabilize, Optimize, ISO. And in the initialize phase, you're just starting, and you're essentially that level 0, and level 1. You're building trust. You're becoming that level 1, and you're starting to understand how to get clients. And if you're changing your system around, like you're just getting the new solo cleaners in place. I had teams of 2. Now I got, you're initializing, you're getting everyone set up. You're going to get some gains, and then you're going to turn a corner, and you're going to start getting some proficiency in what you're doing. Maybe start getting clients a little higher price. So you can get more confidence what they're doing. And then the next stage is the stability stage. And the stability, it's a process going from kind of an apprentice to a master in what you do. You are becoming excellent at what you do as a cleaning service, and you're going through levels 2 and 3 as a stabilizer. So this is all part of the system. So I guess it is kind of branded in a way. So you go through levels 2 and 3 as a stabilizer, and I've got some metrics that I use. And this metric, so we have a common friend, Liz Ursula. I taught her this, and I've shared this with many, and it's a really interesting metric. It's a number, but it's very emotional, and it's easy to understand. I call it the peace factor. And the peace factor is essentially, it's a way that you can connect your profit, the recurring profit of your business, to what you need for your family to survive. So let's take cleaning owner. We'll use someone that is running a larger business that has solos in there.
Okay.
That's fine. They run a business and they're bringing home a profit of, let's say it's $3,000 a month. I'm just picking a number. Sure. And they need $4,000 a month to pay all the bills. The peace factor is 3,000 divided by 4,000, which is 75%. So, and that's 3,000 in recurring profit, not counting any one time. I like peace factor to be based on like rock solid, guaranteed, recurring income. Okay. And so if your peace factor is at 75%, there's this tension inside. If your peace factor is at 10%, you're just like, I need work. Like it's stressful. You get 50, 60, you start getting a little lighter the closer you get to 100. And when you hit that point where you hit 4,000, right? You now have like, I'm having enough. You have enough that you're paying for your bills. And it's like I did it. You have a little bit of peace. So you're at 100% your peace factor. When you get over 100%, you start bringing in 5,000, 6,000. You still a simple division. Let's say you're at 5, you need 4. 5,000 divided by 4,000 is 120%. I don't want people to leave the stabilizing phase and go into the optimizing phase, which is where you speed up and where you kind of play for lack of a better word, you start playing a kind of a game with your business, where you're raising prices and you're and you're getting faster and you're charging more and you're building a bigger waiting list, and you're like trying prices out that you would never have tried before because you got enough cash coming and you're paying all your bills. You have the opportunity to experiment, and that's what Optimizer does. But I want to make sure that people have high enough peace factor, and I like to see at least 120%. Okay. So if they've got 20% more than they need to live, they can start playing around with this stuff. And there's something else I use as a metric. It's called the trust factor, peace factor, trust factor. And trust factor is absolutely huge. Trust it's like the invisible woven thread through your entire business from the beginning to the end. And you can't start getting faster at a house if your customers don't trust you, because they're like, wait a minute. But if they're like, oh my gosh, I would never want to lose. Like, he's a level 3 cleaner. I would never want to lose them. And hey, just let you know, COVID's been tough. And, my goal is to start getting faster in your home. I'm going to give you the same level of excellence, or our solo cleaners are going to give you the same level of excellence, but we're going to be faster. That means we're going to be in your house less. One person in your house, and they're going to get done faster. That means less chance of any, cross-contamination. Does that sound good? They're like, yes, that sounds good. And it's good for us because if we're faster, we can get to more houses and increase our revenue. But you have to have an incredible amount of trust. And I know how to measure trust, Tom. You're like, how is that possible? The book, The Ultimate Question and the Net Promoter Score. Ever hear of it? Mm-hmm. You're an engineer, Tom. Net Promoter Score. You know this stuff, right? Well, Liz, you probably know this too.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you
to
recommend
Bingo.
that?
And it's a simple thing, but you can. I like to see a Net Promoter Score above 70%. It's tough to get there, but when you're there, people really trust you. They really, 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 really like you and your company. So once you clear the stabilizing phase, you're a level 3 cleaner, or your team of solos are all, this is interesting because I've taught the owners, but if you have a team of 10, let's say 10 solo cleaners in your business, they're all different levels. Well, this person's level 2, this one's a 3. I would say you kind of track each set of houses for each solo as its own, almost like its own little profit center. Like on the book EntreLeadership by Dave Ramsey, like its own little, like, okay, this, not Sally, I won't use her name. Barbara she's got 15 houses and that's what she's working on. And let's take a look at Barbara's, business or her, clientele, and what's her trust factor? What is her peace factor personally with what she's personally making compared to her? And when she's ready, okay, look, Barbara's ready to optimize. She's a level 3 cleaner and she's ready to go. She's got her metrics in place. Boom. Now, I got some stories for you on what it looks like to optimize. Now you start speeding up, and Barbara's like, whoa, I was at 15 houses and I was doing 7 a week, right? Every 8 1 week, 7 the next, with a biweekly schedule, 15 houses she's doing. And she applies this getting faster. And now she's, after a few months, maybe 6 months, she goes from 7 and 8 to 10 and 11 or 12 and 13. And she can add that many more houses to her existing schedule. She's making a lot more. So that's like the process. I'll tell you some stories in a minute, but Tom, it looks like you're pondering something.
Yeah, the speeding up part of this, I kind of get the idea that you certainly want to make sure that you establish trust and you don't want to cut any corners. Just from an industrial engineering standpoint, if you're going to be speeding up, that means you're either physically doing the exact same thing but just moving faster, or you're eliminating some steps and tasks. Are you, if I say cutting corners, that has negative connotations, but
let's talk about that, because it's a very important question. It's very important. So let me give you, I'll try to keep these short, but let me give you a couple stories. The first one is my teenager. So I won't mention him by name, but it's the same as mine. he's awesome dude. He's 15. He's also my podcast editor. So if you ever listen to my show, give a shout out to my son. So he's cutting the grass. This is not cleaning related. Okay. He's cutting the grass and he's huffing and puffing and he's starting to complain. He's like, I want a riding mower, Dad. Buy me a riding mower. And I'm like, okay, I'm bringing my optimizer's mindset into him. I said, all right, son. So how long is it? I'm watching. How long is it taking you? He's doing it over 2 days, breaking it up. And it's like a total of two and a quarter hours to do our lawn. I'm like, all right, awesome. Tell you what, next week I'm going to do it. And he says, okay, let's see what you got, old man. And I go out there and he just is in the house. He's like up at the window. He's looking out and he's watching me. I start and in 75 minutes, I'm done. I cut his time in half. I had a better system. My system of cutting the grass. I'm only a little bigger than him. He's pretty big for his age. So can I physically push it maybe a little bit harder? Maybe. But I was just thinking like a system. Well, if I use rectangular shapes and then, do back and like I figured out a system I thought would be faster and I didn't pause. I didn't take any breaks. I just went straight through, did the work, got out 75 minutes. The next week, he got it done a half an hour faster. 2 weeks later, he had it done in the same time. And now he's faster than me. So the first thing is that optimizing is not physical. It's not all physical. It's mostly mental. And it's just the tweak of the belief that you can. Does that make sense? That's the first thing. The second story is me as a teenager, and I'm recording this podcast right after this. Actually, I'm going to tell the story. So this is the quicker version of it, not the 20-minute one on my podcast. When I was 13, I was working for my step grandparents. They owned a movie company, like VHS tapes, like going way back in the 80s, 90s. And I was given a summer job at 13 years old. And my job was to literally go through these boxes and boxes of movie covers and alphabetize them for the summer. That was my job. I could have been a lesser man and been really frustrated, but that'd be my job. But I had the analytical mind as a kid too, and I figured out a system. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I ended up lining up all these boxes in the room, and I'm like tossing them. I'm like frisbee. And for the summer, I'm alphabetizing these things by letter, and then I'll have the system, and I get good. But something keeps happening while I'm doing this, and you'll think this is ridiculous, but I'm 13, like 13-year-old boy, and I'm in this like kind of warehouse environment, and a fly comes, bzzz, and immediately I'm gone from my efficient work. I got this great system, bzzz, and where'd Ken go? Well, I'm little Kenny at that point, 13-year-old kid, and now I'm making this like contraption, like cardboard boxes and tape, and I'm building up this like amazing fly swatter by hand, and then I built this like scoring system with how I would be the pest control. I was pest control. I added a job function to that summer, and I was just going around looking to kill as many flies as I could. And then, okay, I get back to work. I'm efficient. I get myself into a routine, and as you're in the routine, you get faster. Muscle memory, you get faster and faster. Oh, fly! There I go. 15 minutes, I'm back. And at the end of the summer, my task was complete. I was getting paid by the hour, so I wasn't all that motivated really to get faster. Although I wanted to impress my grandmother. I wanted her to be proud of me. But I had left so much on the table because of all the flies. And so I kind of posed the question, like, what are your flies? What's stealing your time right now on this? If you're familiar with Parkinson's law, we will fill that time.
It's true.
If we're given $100 and what we need is $70, we're going to spend the full 100. If we're given 2 hours to complete an hour project, Tom, how long will it take?
I'm sorry, what's the number again?
If we're given 2 hours,
it'll take 2 hours.
We know the project's an hour, but you give it to someone, say, here's 2 hours. You don't tell them it's an hour. How long will they take?
It'll take 2 hours.
That's right. And that's the Parkinson. And so what is it? What are the flies that are stealing in your business? What are the flies? Is it that they got a chatty client? Is it that they go beep? Oh, Facebook. Oh, I get that. Or is it like they're I mean, how many things can you guys think of that are flies that are causing them? And it's amazing when you stop the flies, when you get laser focused toward what you're doing. I mean, for me, how about there's good things that are flies? I'm listening to an audiobook while I'm cleaning. I'm listening to this great book. Maybe it's called Drive or something like that. And I'm listening to it. I'm taking and like, oh, that's great notes. And I stop what I'm doing, get out my phone. And so I've learned how to use voice transcription. I can talk while I'm working. So you just have to find a way to eliminate those flies, those distractions. And at one point, I had one of the solos I was helping time it. And I had to find my notes. But she was appalled. Like it was something like $300 a week. She was swatting away in flies, $300 a week in profit, something like that. So that is another example. So those are two mindsets. Yeah. And so Tom, that you don't have to be faster, but just eliminating distractions in your business is a tremendous thing. Let me give you one more. It's 550. This is one. I want the concept of cutting corners. Let's look at this in a different light. All right. I have a motto or a mantra or a saying when I'm talking to people for the first time. Flies. I'm seeing. I'll look in the comments. So when I'm talking to people for the first time at an estimate, I tell them this, and anyone that's listening to this, feel free to use this. This isn't like it's all information. It's part of what I teach, but this is something that you can all use. I don't clean everything every time. I clean everything over time. I don't clean everything every time. I clean everything over time. And then I explain why I do that. And I tell them my cleaning service, and this is part of the specialist in that level 2 and in that level 3. My cleaning service is like a fine-tuned instrument. Like you can't see, I have a guitar sitting behind me, and guitars go out of tune. I tune my cleaning service to a client by, I think Liz, you were mentioning, I had you on as an expert, and thank you, Liz. Shout out to Liz for coming on the Smart Cleaning Tribe today. You talked about getting to know your clients, your employees so well. You're asking questions, you're figuring out what it is how you can connect, right? What makes them matter, right? That's what you were talking about. And I do the same thing. I'm sure both of you do this by quality control. You find out everyone's got preferences. When you are hitting their preferences on all cylinders, you're building incredible trust, incredible irreplaceability. And when you're focusing on the things that are most important to them, I call that excellent customer service. Now, perfectionism is a disease for many cleaners. And they're like, I've got to clean everything perfectly. But that's not what every homeowner wants. Would you guys agree?
Sure.
They want some things done perfectly or amazingly, and other things they just want to know what's done or clean or whatever. And so I set up from the beginning that I clean everything over time, not every time. And I tell them what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure, like, hey, the bathroom, the kitchen, all these areas that, especially with disinfecting, I'm going to be hitting all these areas. Some areas, they're not going to get dirty. If it's not dirty, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, I'm not going to clean it every single time. But over time, I will be hitting those baseboards. I'm not going to clean your baseboards every time. If I wipe them every time, the paint's going to fade off faster. That's not good. Like, that's not good for your house.
You don't want me to clean it every time.
Yeah.
That's bad.
No, and they like, that makes sense, and I'm not going to dust all of the shelves with 500 trinkets on it, but I will. But if I ever show up and those shelves are empty, I was like, hark, they want me to clean today. Those shelves, I will clean those shelves for them. So it will take a person with a little bit of brain capacity, a little critical thinking to be a solo cleaner. And I love that's what Chris Wilt was talking about in that interview. I totally agree. You can't have just a robot. Yeah. Someone that's just like, yes, Liz, yes, Dom, I will do this, because they're not thinking. because you kind of track your houses and you watch what you're doing and you pay attention. And over time, I'm always tuning my service to make them do this, to make them smile. And if they're smiling, I'm building trust, and I don't cut corners. Over time, the house is all clean. So that's how I build that same, the counter argument to the way, well, it's cutting corners. I don't look at it like that at all. I tell them from the very beginning what I'm going to do, and they buy into that, knowing that I'm the specialist.
And really, you can just clearly say, I absolutely do not cut corners. We make sure that the entire home is always clean.
Yeah.
So that's a big distinction there, right?
Yeah.
So,
and over time, I mean,
and it's such a good argument to the companies that say, because there's an argument to every single thing that anybody does, right? If I clean in teams of 2, you've got a good argument for why solos are better. You clean solos, I got a good argument for why teams of 2 are better, or we should when we're talking to the customer, right? Everybody should have their argument. So there's a really beautiful argument for why you shouldn't clean everything every single time, because you want to keep the whole house clean all of the time, not go in every once in a while and focus in on one area. Why would I do that? I want your whole house clean.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's I can see how you've got to use your brain and you've got to position it right. But absolutely make
and I did this and sped up my houses, and I did not have to run around my houses. I figured out how to tune each service, and I'll just go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
I just wanted to say that you dropped a seed in their mind. It's like this shelf with 100 knickknacks on it. If I come in and I see all of them are gone, I know you want me to clean the shelf.
Like, hello.
I mean, you can spend an hour taking them off and putting them back, but it takes, 30 seconds to clean it.
It's all in the communication. I believe it. The trust building process starts from the first time they ever hear about your business.
I really see why the trust matters too.
It does. And then you build that, and then, well, wait a minute. You were half an hour faster than you were 6 months ago. Yes. Are you happy? I'm cleaning the whole house for you still. Oh, it's doing great. Thank you. Awesome. Huh? So I would share this. It's kind of ironic to this whole thing. I had this one client, named Elise, and she was a reader, had a little reading room, and she had like one of those carpets. I guess it was like kind of like a higher pile. But you would like leave the vacuum lines, and it was like, it just looked awesome in that particular room. Right. And she'd be in there. And after I leave the vacuum lines, like, she would not want to like walk on it. She would just like go to the doorway and just like, oh wow.
I'm sure. That is me.
But then the other thing too is that she'd go in the kitchen, and I use Barkeeper's Friend is amazing on metal sinks.
Oh yeah.
And so I would clean the stainless steel, and it would be like, woo, like shining, and she'd like go, oh, the sink. And I asked her once, I said, at least tell me something honestly. She was paying me $200 per visit. If I just came in and did your sink and left the vacuum lines, would you still pay me? She said, absolutely, Ken. and so, but everyone think about that. Like, seriously, think about that. I'm not saying that's what I'm going to do.
Of course.
But it shows you the potential of a house. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
And if you guys start, and this is a long stretch, because everyone is all scale. And I'll probably say something right now it's going to ruffle some feathers. The automate everything because of what we're in. I believe it doesn't allow us to build the trust like I would like to build. It's like push a button, you get a new house cleaner, and because they give the prices. I would rather take the time, which I do, develop the trust, develop the demand for my service because I'm a specialist, and I would rather spend more time and get more no's and get clients at $5,000 a piece and require less people to do the work than just take whatever I'm given because I'm doing button, and I get a house for $125 and I move on. And I even add optioning, and I figure out how much people earn. I ask questions on my estimates. I figure out how much people earn, engineer here. And when I figure that out, here, I will give you this one too. I have something called the 3% rule. 3% rule. I have done I've asked enough people, and maybe it's 2% in one area, 5% in another. I found 3%. The average family is willing to invest 3% of their gross income into their cleaning per year.
Nice.
3%. So if you do the numbers, do I have a minute? I don't have it all hand. If you type in like, let's say someone's making, well, figure it out. So I'll do it real quick. Got my little calculator.
100,000 a year. They'll spend 3,000 a year getting.
But then divide that by 26. 3,000 per year divided by 26, 115. So you got a family that's earning 100,000 a year. You can easily sell them $115 biweekly service because that's what they're willing to pay. If you can target differently, and being the specialist can easily target those people better, and they're making 200,000. Now they're willing to spend $230 a visit.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that. And so you have to learn how to fish in the right pond as well. So there's a lot to this. So yeah. I'm just trying to throw some stuff out there.
No, that is super helpful, Ken. I think that the big message, the big, huge takeaway for everybody is, listen, if you want to be a solo owner, or you want to have solo cleaners, or you want to be a cleaning business owner that employs solo cleaners, any of these strategies, you need to go all in, because you need to be able to, it's not just about going in and cleaning different things. It really is about the strategy. And it's a strategy that is much bigger than just what chemical to use on what surface. That's not the strategy. The strategy starts from image that you're projecting from before they even have met you, what's attracting them to you in the first place, all the way down to what you're training your cleaners to do and what they're going to be doing. I see that it's huge, and I understand why your school is really popular, Ken.
What's your website, Ken?
Oh, it's solocleaningschool.com.
I see why it's really popular too, because there is just so much to learn, and all of the pieces have to play together. You can't just do one of the things and think, you can't just walk into a house and tell people, I don't clean all your house every time. I clean everything over time. And people just say, oh, okay, hallelujah, I'm going to hire you. It doesn't work like that.
Not if your name's Sally.
Yeah. So absolutely, it's a whole, I see that it's a whole system.
So we are sadly out of time again. It happens with Ken, it happens way too quickly. That's okay. You can come back again for part 3. We'll get into this story eventually.
Well, I know that Ken is looking to get Derek on his show.
Calling him out live right here.
I am. He knows me well. And so, well, I'll work to get you Derek, and then we can have more conversation.
Yeah, we have some leverage there.
Yeah.
So here's Ken's website. I dropped the URL in the chat. So please check it out.
Can I toss out a little plug on that, just so people know how to use it? If you're a solo cleaning owner, go ahead and listen to all these. Go listen to the podcast and go listen to all of them. If you're someone like you guys, an owner of the business, listen to all of them to get the mindset. But you could also, I'm going to set up a category soon in this that is going to be solo teams. So I'm going to go through my own podcasts, and I'll have a category set up, which you saw on the right-hand side, that is solo teams, which means you could have yours. If you're setting up solo teams, you could have your solo cleaners in the field listening to 10, 20 of these podcasts to get the mindset. Some of the stories I just shared, they can get the mindset on what it looks like. Like, hey, stop going for flies, like stuff like that. They can improve their mindset so they can prepare to be faster and to be better.
I do know a company, Pink Power in Ohio. And they give all of their employees iPods to listen to podcasts on the job, and different ones earn them different amounts of money. So I'm like, it's pretty good. I'm gonna turn them on to you, Ken.
Cool. I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
If you haven't subscribed to Cleaning Business Today, really easy. Just go to Cleaning Business Today, drop in your email, first name, last name, resources. We might have to put a link to Ken's podcasts in here. I think that would be
right down there. Audio. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Liz. I appreciate that. Liz Day. She just said she likes the podcast. It's funny and the stories are good. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, we'll give you a backlink to your podcast here on our resource.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. Appreciate that.
For being our guest today. I mean, Ken, you're awesome, man. You're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've had a good day with you today, Ken. I feel excited. I do want to get off this call because my daughter and granddaughter arrived 5 minutes ago and they're sitting in the other room and I haven't seen them in almost a year.
Hey. Sure. Hey.
They can't hear you. They're in the other room trying to stay out of my room.
Well, we're out of here. We'll be here tomorrow, 5:00 Eastern, on the spot with our surprise guest. That's not a surprise anymore.
Surprise!
Well, okay. Some people have figured it out. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.